their downward gaze, the lateral offset, and truly how they use their head and their eyes to read, which we know is a critical need for any and all presbyopes that are looking for a quality progressive lens. So we've seen a lot of great opportunity there and a lot of great results from people that, to your point, have used Verilux XR Track. It gives you that two-tier approach between Verilux XR Track and the Verilux XR design to have a very premium offer for your patients that are coming to you for the needs of presbyopia.
Well, where we've used it mainly is, we've kind of stratified our approach in our practice to sort of keep things in packages as much as possible. Now, there are certain designs of lenses that based on patient lifestyle. So if they're sitting at a computer a lot, then we'll kind of customize outside of those packages. But generally speaking, we have done a good job. Our team has done a really good job of always wanting to have the newest technology available to our patients. Hello and welcome to the Gritsville Podcast. Thanks everybody for joining us. Today, I'm with Jeff Harrell. Thanks so much for jumping on here, Jeff. You and I have had a conversation. We had a couple conversations probably last year, and it was right about the beginning of the XR launch and the XR Track launch. And so here we are almost a year into it. And I can tell you my experience with the XR. I've got a couple questions for you because I get a lot of questions from doctors about the XR Track specifically. But we've used the XR Track a lot in our practice, and I could talk about why and how. But I'll stop there because I think it'll be best for me to kind of pick your brain about what you're seeing in the market space as well. So thanks for coming on and talking about it. Where do you see the XR? Let's take a step back and kind of give me a perspective on the XR and then transitioning into the XR Track if you're already having success with XR.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, Chris. I always enjoy talking to you about these topics. I think they're near and dear to my heart, and I think your listeners and your colleagues can benefit a lot from what we talk about today when you think about the best opportunity for them to have the best patient care available. So you're right. We're coming up on almost a year for Verilux XR Series in the market. We've seen almost the entire conversion up from Verilux X, which is great. We want to continue to see those that have not yet tried Verilux XR to get out there and try it because it's truly a revolution over and above what we did with Verilux X. Verilux X Series was, 5-6 years ago, was our most successful launch to date. It's hard for me to say, but Verilux XR Series really did surpass that in the feedback we got from the market and the excitement we saw from our customers, your colleagues, and their patients based on the benefits of the design. So the great thing about Verilux XR, obviously, is we've been able to leverage this proprietary data, this behavioral artificial intelligence, to really provide a very unique solution to the wearer. With Verilux XR Track, for those of your colleagues that have got an iRuler 2 or some other device that takes, really just the iRuler 2, and we'll talk about the different versions, that can take the near vision behavior. Really, you are able to, in the practice, go beyond the behavioral artificial intelligence model and truly have that ultimate personalized experience for your patient. Because what we're doing is we're taking that model and we're leveling it up to really take the individual patient measurements in the practice. So when you think about what we're doing with the near vision behavior, within less than 2 minutes, you can understand the patient's reading distance, their downward gaze, the lateral offset, and truly how they use their head and their eyes to read, which we know is a critical need for any and all presbyopes that are looking for a quality progressive lens. So we've seen a lot of great opportunity there and a lot of great results from people that, to your point, have used Verilux XR Track. It gives you that two-tier approach between Verilux XR Track and the Verilux XR design to have a very premium offer for your patients that are coming to you for the needs of presbyopia.
Well, where we've used it mainly is, we've kind of stratified our approach in our practice to sort of keep things in packages as much as possible. Now, there are certain designs of lenses that based on patient lifestyle. So if they're sitting at a computer a lot, then we'll kind of customize outside of those packages. But generally speaking, we have done a good job. Our team has done a really good job of always wanting to have the newest technology available to our patients. and utilizing that newest technology in a strategized way. So one of the things that we do is to make it simple for patients is like, this is what's best for you. This is what we recommend. And then we can always kind of back off from that. And to your point, the XR Track and the XR has allowed us to do that in different tiers, mainly based on customization. But one of the challenges that a lot of doctors will come to me, I was at a meeting must have been in January, and I got a nice little call out. I didn't even think, our office is, I wouldn't say like our office is a massive office, but at this meeting, they're like, hey, Chris, you are like the biggest XR Track user in your peers, or one of the biggest in your peers. And I was surprised by that. I didn't know that, but they asked kind of why that was the case. And I think it was because we offer it as a first line. I think our team also makes it a really important point to, they know we kind of evolve, like we're trying to change, we're trying to get new things all the time and test new things, but they also know that we're not married to the idea. So if a technology wasn't performing well in our office, we would back away from it. But one of the things that people were immediately coming up to me like, well, yeah, but you don't have this major vision plan that doesn't allow this on their plan yet. So how do you do that? So the first thing I want to ask is, we won't bring up that vision plan, but there's a big vision plan that for the last year has not allowed Track, and that's been a hindrance on people using it. So one, do you see that changing? And two, if it's not changing soon, how can I transition? I didn't realize those bubbles are going to come up. How do I transition as a practice into utilizing better technology or more advanced or customized technology for my patients in those scenarios where it may not be covered widely by a specific vision plan?
First off, thank you for your support of Verilux XR Track. I'm very happy to hear that you are so highly rated amongst your peers in your area. So that's great. And yeah, what I would say is we have strong partnerships with all the managed vision care plans out there. And if it's not available today, trust me that we and those plans are working in concert to try to make it happen. Because when you think about it, it's not just the formulary structure that can impact whether or not a product like Verilux XR Track is available. There's also some systems limitations, right? So you've got to make sure that you've got the field to capture that data. So sometimes, IT projects take time, systems upgrade takes time. So, I can tell you, we have strong relationships with all the plans. We have a great managed vision care team that we work with on a daily basis. And they are working closely with all the plans. So if it's not covered today, that's not going to be how it is in the future. Now, I can't talk to timelines or anything like that because I can't commit to someone else's work, but we are working hard to make it available. And to be fair, everybody wants it available. So it's not because no one says no, it's because we just have to do it in the right way. And that's what we're working on long term, because we want to have the broadest availability for the broadest patient base that's out there, because truly every presbyope can benefit from this type of design. And I'd love to hear your own experience, because I would say when I talk to some of my colleagues in other parts of the world, specifically Europe, some places in Asia, when you look at personalized lenses in general, what we've seen in the United States is kind of a lack of utilization for whatever reason. First, I hear about the time that it can take in the practice to take additional measurements. You've got a limited amount of time to get a comprehensive eye exam and the fitting and selecting of eyewear all in one sitting. But with your experience with the NVB and the iRuler 2 with your staff, I would hope that you would find the efficiency and the speed at which you can take the additional measurements to truly have an impact.
My patients with macular degeneration want clear and succinct recommendations from me related to products and solutions that can benefit their long-term ocular health and vision. To do this for my patients, I need to be confident that what I'm recommending will have a benefit to them. And that's why my supplement of choice is MacuHealth. MacuHealth is specifically formulated and clinically proven to rebuild and maximize macular pigment over a lifetime. This results in enhanced visual performance and aids in the treatment and prevention of age-related macular degeneration. I've discussed carotenoid absorption on this podcast with Dr. Nolans and Stringham, and MacuHealth uses a patented process called micromicelle technology. And this technology is clinically proven to increase carotenoid concentrations at the target tissue and deliver the highest level of bioavailability studied to date. MacuHealth has been great for my patients. We really feel like we have the ability to help those patients in all categories of macular degeneration. If you're not utilizing MacuHealth for your patients, check it out for yourself by contacting your MacuHealth representative. I want to discuss the MyDay toric contact lens for a minute. When I'm reaching for a daily lens for my patients, I need to know that it will be available in the parameters I want, and it also needs to work. This improves my chair time and my patient satisfaction. The MyDay toric lens features the same optical lens design features as the most prescribed monthly replacement toric lens on the market, the Biofinity toric. MyDay toric now completely mirrors Biofinity toric's parameter range, and to be clear, this means that if you can find a parameter in the Biofinity toric, you can find it in the MyDay toric. This toric lens design is multifaceted to ensure optimal visual acuity, lens stability, fit, and comfort. Its uniform horizontal ISO thickness and wide ballast band quickly orient the lens for better performance and simplified fitting processes. When prescribing MyDay contact lenses, you can feel confident about your environmental impact because for every MyDay contact lens sold in the United States, CooperVision's partner, Plastic Bank, collects and converts an equal amount of ocean-bound plastic through their global network. The MyDay multifocal and MyDay toric contact lenses will provide your patients with great vision quality and comfortable lens experience, all while making a difference in our environment. So if you haven't started utilizing MyDay multifocal in your practice, I'd encourage you to reach out to your CooperVision representative to get started.
Yeah, I mean, we have, so years ago, I think maybe, I don't know if we talked about this before, but we invested in the Visi-Office years and years ago. I mean, we've had customized measurements with all of those other types of things, even though this goes beyond it, but panoscopic tilt, face form, those types of things. So our practice, we've been doing it for a long time. And one of the things that we did, and I think this is, genius. It wasn't my idea. I think it was my dad's idea, or he picked it up from another office, but it was physically taking out PD rulers of the dispensary and pupillometers from the dispensary. So in order to get our team on board to use those technologies and trust them and understand where they work really well, but also where they may have some errors induced. And some of those errors come from user error, but some of the errors also just come from like getting used to where you're putting those things. We had to remove those from the dispensary. And that was like, when I talk to a lot of people, that's, I think, a big thing that you can do. It doesn't mean you don't have PD measurements in the practice in different places. It doesn't mean that you don't have a pupillometer in the place, but you make it inconvenient for your team to have to revert to older technology. And then so every time we upgraded new things, like when we got the Visi-Office 2, and then now obviously we have the eye ruler, and we've invested in multiple wearing devices. And so that we don't just have one in the dispensary, we have one in all of our dispensing tables. And so I think that's probably a big factor, Jeff, in making sure that we have, it's simple and it's built into the process. And so it doesn't take a whole lot of additional time to do, and it shouldn't really be cumbersome. The second thing I think is important is we've always wanted to tell our story as a practice as doing something above and beyond what they can get other places. So it's not just that, I think this is, and I think we've talked about this before, but maybe I haven't, but it's not just that when you come into our practice and you purchase lenses, it's not just that we have the best lenses available. It's also like, what is the perception of the patient about those lenses? Because if they think that if they can't tell how good those lenses are until they put them on and they've made the purchase, well, they've already made the purchase. If they go someplace else and they've made the purchase and they don't have a good user experience, what are they going to do? Well, in many cases, they'll just get them remade, and they're coming back to your office for a RX check, and the RX isn't wrong. And so they're just frustrated, but they're going to keep kind of going down that road and be like, well, they didn't work, but I'll just take them off. I don't, maybe I'll just wear my old glasses. And so the hard part for us is how do we differentiate our products on the front end beyond price, because the patients can't just see that until they wear it and experience it. And one of the ways that we do that is by those custom measurements. Patients know they're getting something beyond what they're going to get when they go other places. So I don't know if that specifically answers your question, but I think that's one of the reasons why we've been successful. And I will tell you that that as good as XR Track has been for the patients that choose it, I do think, sorry, as good as the XR has been for our patients who choose it, the XR Track is significantly better. Patients like it better. You know, when I talk to patients afterwards, they are happier in that lens. I don't know that, like, they're not comparing apples to oranges, but my sense is when I talk to them, it's like, oh, this is like, wow, the other one's like, wow, this is really good. But they're just like, this is really good. So that's been our experience.
No, that's great. And I think you bring up some good points, because like you were saying, the patient satisfaction, we do see satisfaction increases for patients that wear Verilux XR Track over the base Verilux XR, because it's that further personalization to them. And I love some of the things that you're talking about, because to me, if you're a doctor out there, if you're a staff out there that has an iRuler 2 today, and you're thinking, I'm only going to pull this out when I need to measure someone for the Verilux XR Track, you're not going to do it. If I've got a younger person sitting in front of me, maybe they're going to be in an IZIT, maybe they're going to be in a single vision, I can still take it out and show them I'm using this high-tech device to measure your PD and fitting height. And maybe that's all you do, those two measurements. But the fact that you can use it on every single patient, I think, one, to your point, sets your practice apart, because you're showing, hey, I'm taking those measurements, I'm doing what I can in the most precise way possible for that differentiation, as well as, you know, as a user of the device, whether the optician on the staff or whoever's taking it, they get so much more comfortable with it. We have an optical downstairs that services the employees at the corporate office as well as over at the lab. They have the iRuler 2 for almost 2 years now, because we piloted some things with them. And if you came by any of the booths at any of the trade shows the last 2 years, you saw Chloe who leads our optical downstairs, talking about iRuler 2 in the booth, because she loves it. They use it on every single patient, young or old, regardless of the lens they're going to wear in the practice. And it's just part of how they do things. And I think more practices can do that. And the end benefit is you get more used to it. It becomes part of the process, part of the protocol. And so it's not as cumbersome, or it's really not cumbersome at all, when you have that patient in front of you that really should be in a Verilux XR Track. That's what you're recommending to them. And then it's done. It's great. So no, I applaud you for the forward thinking, because I think there's a lot of opportunity for your colleagues in the teams here in the US to really take it to the next level, because that's where we see the frontier of presbyopia solutions, progressive lenses going, is how can we further personalize them to that individual wearer? Because a lot of patients believe, oh, it's personalized to me because it's my prescription. But there's so many more things we can do for their vision beyond just understanding what their prescription is. Now, granted, their prescription tells us a lot about them, right? With the emetropia, we know about the shape of their eye. The ad power, I have some correlation to their age and the pupil size and things like that. So there is some customization that we can do in the design itself without measurements, just based on their RX and our knowledge of the human visual system and all the wearer studies we've done. But then we could take it even further, especially when you think about the behavior in that near vision task where we have the NVB, because so often that's where presbyopes are struggling, and that's where they need that progressive lens.
Do you know, as far as your data is concerned, do you have wearer data now after a year that you're seeing, kind of a percentage improvement, like from one versus the other? Have you had, users or wearers of the XR versus now they're in the XR Track? Like, can you share me any of that data or any perspective you've got on? Because I don't have a lot of, honestly, we don't give people the Pepsi Coke challenge, right? We recommend what we think is best for them, and then they have it. So what's been the feedback?
So I don't have data like that, because to your point, it's barely a year old. And with the Pepsi Coke, it's like if you started this process in June of last year when we launched, if you're a wearer, you're either wearing Verilux XR Design or Verilux XR Track. You probably haven't had time to experience one or the other. Now, we have had some great feedback from those that were wearing Verilux XX design and have moved up to either XR and especially XR Track. But so we do have that data. It's being tracked at a global level. So we do some market quality tests after the fact that's in process right now to get a little bit more precise. But really, when we look at the shift and how quickly we're able to shift such a huge percentage of our Verilux X volume and users over up into XR, it's really astounding to think about how quickly. Now, granted, we started talking about the product launch earlier than we ever have in the past. So it's not like, that you could joke sometimes a company launches a product and it's almost like it escapes. It's like you didn't know it was even out there. Where we were talking about this early and often, and I think we got a lot of buzz. Our commercial teams did a great job out there partnering with their customers. The labs did an awesome job getting everything ready to go. And so we hit the ground running. We've seen a great conversion. And so, yeah, we've been looking at that data. We'll be looking at that the long term now. And the great thing is when you think about every time you're measuring a patient with the iRuler 2, what are you also doing? You are feeding that behavioral AI engine with more data because that's what it's doing. That's what's the AI. It wants that data. It needs that data to continue to optimize those designs for future wearers. Because what we're able to do with NVB is we take those measurements, but also attach to an RX. So it's almost like you are part of the continual evolution of our progressive designs because you're using this product. We're leveraging that data in such a way that we can learn more and more about the behavior of that wearer, linked to whether they're a +2 or a -3.
Are you saying, Jeff, that the XR design today or the XR Track today design is going to be different than the XR Track design will be in a year because of that
Not
future
to that
data,
extreme.
or it's just the
No.
iteration of the next
It's the iteration.
type of
It's
lens?
allowing us to capture that data that allows us to continue to further innovate our progressive lenses. So it's not that it's going to be wildly different. No, that's not what we're doing today because we've already developed this design.
Right.
What it's doing is it's helping us learn more and more. So we don't, because I could tell you this, Verilux XR Track is the best progressive lens we have today. It's the best progressive lens in the market. It's not going to be the last lens we launch. It's definitely not going to be the best lens we launch 10 years from now, right? We will have something even better. And it's going to be because of the success we've had with the previous iterations. And we learn more and more about the human visual system, human visual behavior linked to that RX that allows us to continue to innovate.
Can you tell me some of the tips? So now we're coming up on a year. Let's say we had a patient that just had the XR. And I say just, but obviously that's a premium product. But they chose the XR last year either for insurance purposes or for out-of-pocket monetary purposes. What are the types of things that I would want to listen for as the doctor or my staff would want to listen for that would be experiences or that the patient might experience, or the questions that might probe us to know, like, oh, if I ask this question and I get this response, this is going to be how I know it's going to be worth it to that patient to maybe go outside of their network or to upgrade to the XR Track. What do you think about that?
It's an interesting question because that assumes that they're having some struggle with their Verilux XR design today, which I don't think we see a lot of. I think if you've got a patient that is I think a lot of our customers, a lot of your colleagues will talk about the classic, the engineer as the patient, right? Someone that is into technology, does really care about the most premium. It would be something to introduce to them to say, listen, we are predicting your visual behavior based on these models and these lenses. We can truly measure your individual visual behavior with this device that can improve the near vision in this design by up to 25%, right? That might really the experience might really interest the wearer. I don't know if you'll hear something negative that would draw you to it. I think it's just maybe making them aware that this even exists, right? Like, do you want some, you thought that was personalized to you. This is truly personalized to you and your individual visual needs.
Well, I like the idea of even just the improvement, improving the near visual experience by 25%. I think that's really helpful. I mean, as far as a take home point from me. What about any intermediate improvement? Obviously our near, do you include like computer vision distance in that as well?
No, the calculation is truly going to be over and above Verilux XR design. Verilux XR Track is about the improvement of the positioning and the width of the near vision, dependent on the wearer's behavior and dependent on their RX. So that is where we get the most benefit. Now, that intermediate area is really already covered when you think about some of the improvement that we've had in Verilux XR design over and above Verilux XR. When you think about, we already had kind of that extended sharp vision at arm's length with an X, and then we just expanded upon that with the improvement in the binocularity calculation for XR. So you're really already getting that. And near is where, if you think about it, like there's going to be some blending, right, between the near and intermediate, because you know where your distance is, right? Near is, when we hit to 85% of the ad. Intermediate is somewhere in between, right? So it's really, if you improve one, you're going to have a natural impact on the other. So I think you're going to get still that impact, but from a messaging and what we tell the patients, it's the improvement of up to plus 25%, depending on RX in the near vision zone.
We've been partnering with EssilorLuxottica 360 for a while now, and it helps us in 3 areas. First, they use social media campaigns to highlight products that we believe in and prescribe to our patients, and they deliver those patients back to our practice. Second, EssilorLuxottica 360 enhances our patient experience through staff training tools that help us simplify and streamline the way we communicate about our products and services. Lastly, but for my practice most importantly, it helps us make good business decisions related to our optical offerings. We will systematically and objectively analyze what our patients are purchasing and what they like, and removing products that our patients are not really using or not really drawn to. This, along with additional rebates and immediate savings, helps us continue to deliver high-quality products and services to our patients and keeps our practice resilient. Check out EssilorLuxottica 360 for yourself by visiting EssilorLuxottica360.com. The most common questions I get include, what ophthalmological codes or evaluation and management codes should I use? What ICD-10 codes do I need to bill with this CPT code? What CPT codes can be billed together and what can't? And my favorite, how do I manage a patient who has diabetes who comes in for a quote-unquote routine eye exam? These questions really highlight the confusion and uncertainty that serves as a daunting hurdle for providers, makes it more challenging for them to care for their patients and provide those patients with the best opportunity for a lifetime of ocular health and clear vision. That's why we built iCode Education for this specific purpose. Our mission is to provide optometrists with resources to help you understand disease states, revenue cycles, and billing and coding so that you can put that on autopilot and truly care for your patients. Check out iCodeEducation.com, that's EYECODE education.com. We've developed a premier billing and coding bundle that includes all of our billing and coding resources in one place. We also have a 10% discount code just for listeners of this podcast. Enter the coupon code EYECODEMEDIA22 at checkout. We'd love to work with you. Check out iCodeEducation.com.
And so, so I get a lot of questions again, mostly from patients, but about they're not asking B dimension, but do I have to have a really big frame for this or a small frame for that? And just to give some perspective, so when I think this is interesting because it just takes me back to how things have evolved just in general in 20 years. When I was in undergrad and even in high school, I edged lenses on a pattern edger with a vacuum. Mm-hmm. And there were different designs that our opticians would use based on how small that B dimension was versus how, and we're long past that, right? But it just kind of harkens back to those days for me about they were very precise. Now it's kind of like, well, we don't really have a ton of limits there anymore. How much does this change based on those types of dimensions versus how we're using our eyes?
No, I don't, the only thing that I could say is, there's a reason we say measure the wearer with the frame they're going to wear. Because if you think about, to your point, the B dimensions, even the A dimension, right? Now, granted, when I think about when I first started here a little over 18 years ago, we were kind of still on the cusp of, you got to have the short designs, right? We had
exactly.
Verilux, the lips,
Yeah.
and frame styles are much bigger these days. But if you think about it, there probably is, and I don't have enough data, but I can assume, and probably talking to some of my more technical colleagues, I can assume that, if you've got the bigger lens, you've got more surface area, and maybe there is I'm able to maybe do a little bit more with my eyes than my head, because it's a larger lens. So that's why it's important that they get measured there. From a fitting height standpoint, obviously the minimum fitting height for both of the designs is 14 millimeters. But to your point, we've built it into the design calculation to have that variable quarter length, that variable percent progression based on the fitting height, the RX, and everything we need to do. So you don't necessarily have to have a specific short design. It's going to manage the progression length within the lens that you've chosen based on the shape. So that's all taken care of for you with the calculation engine itself.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think that is really interesting. What so when I think I'm going to kind of transition this into pairing this lens, I hope I'm doing this the best way, but pairing this lens with, I want to kind of bridge into glare-free materials. And so in your experience, like, how do we pick the best pairing of that in terms of best user, mainly for patient experience? So tell me what should I be using as far as that's concerned?
For no glare, for AR?
Yep.
I mean, I'm a nerd, and I will sometimes match the hue of the AR to the color of my frame. So that's because I have some Crizal Rock, I have some Crizal Sapphire HR, and I have some Crizal Provincia, because I'm a nerd. I will say, when we start talking about AR as, AR really for the protection of the lens, if you think about the improvement we've made in durability, scratch resistance, and cleanability with Crizal, I mean, you can't go wrong with any of the Crizal line, but especially Crizal Rock and Crizal Sapphire HR. Now, if you think about the light management that you want to have for the lens as well, you got to think Crizal, of course, but then also think about brand new Transitions Gen S, which
that's the next question I was going to have.
It's 100% available in all the great new colors across the various materials, which I hope everyone can try. That's an amazing new product. So if you want to have that combination of the sharpness of the design, the personalization to the wearer's visual behavior because of Verilux XR Track, you got the protection of the lens with the Crizal anti-scratch, cleanability, all of that, and then the light management of Transitions Gen S. You've got, we talked about the ultimate lens package a few years ago. Every single part of that ultimate lens package is so much more better than it was back then. You've got a really great opportunity to delight the patient and have a really good outcome for them as it relates to their vision. So, you want to think about truly in that package. When you think about the coating is almost like it's almost like I wouldn't call it an automatic, but when you look at the amount of Verilux XR today sold, I couldn't tell you if there's any Verilux XR today sold without a Crizal. So I would encourage you, if you think about it in the recommendation to the patient, don't let the true light management of a product like Transitions Gen S be the last thing you talk about. I would move that up further in the conversation. I think with all the new research we've done and all the performance of that product, you think about what that you think truly that dynamic lens. Now, because we can talk all day about the visual behavior and the vision provided by Verilux XR Track, but within changing light conditions and being able to manage that light and having the reactivity to that light, you've got to have a solution like Gen S to get that full benefit. So that's where I think you pull that up further in the conversation, because the Crizal conversation is so automatic these days when you think about it. We've gone, some places it's already baked in. They think about it like that. So I wouldn't discount that. I would pull that up further in the conversation, especially when you think about the frame selection. I'm talking about being a nerd with the hue, even more so now with the full range of colors you have in Gen S. So, and you've got each one of those colors is going to be available for Verilux XR Track. So there's no limitation. It's an infinite number of possibilities which you can provide the patient. So that's what I would say. And then when you think about it, I don't want to discount the fact that when you use a device like the iRuler 2, you're providing an elevated patient experience. You are saying to that patient, I truly care about the eyewear that I'm recommending and providing you, because I am measuring it, taking all the measurements I can efficiently and quickly, but accurately and at a very precise level, because I want to make sure these are truly personalized to you.
Yeah, I think, you brought up the Transitions Gen S, and one of the things so I totally agree. I think, the more in our practice, the more personalized and customized we can provide care to the patient, the better for the patient. And also in how we recommend different products for them. And I think additionally, sometimes, as eye doctors, I don't do as good a job of the cool factor of glasses, right? And how you can, because I do have different pairs. I mean, I have different pairs of glasses all the time, and I don't even think about the articulating that point to my patients as often as I should. And one of the things that we did, the reason I bring that up is one of the things we did with the new Transitions is we've got some really colorful frame lines, and we had them made into matching Transitions S, so
Great
that
idea.
like the frame lines are there, right? They're featured, or that frame line is featured. But then it's like, you want to see what this color is going to look like. Let's take it outside. So we sort of did that. But I think the cool part about that is that when I go into the clothing store that I get most of my clothes from, right? I will walk around and I will touch shirts, or I'll touch a jacket, and the guy that's there is like, he'll be like, "Oh, Chris, you need to check." His name's John. Chris, you need to put that on. And by the time I'm done, like, I went in for a shirt, but now I've got 5 or 6 items that I've tried on, and I don't get them all. But it's like, oh, I wasn't planning on getting that. And how much more can we do of that in our practices? And it's not about selling more stuff to the patient. It's about providing them with like a better experience and helping them understand. It's like, oh yeah, well, you're going to have this. This is going to really look great with this, but it's also going to help you with performing in this way as well. So we're trying to get better at that. And it's part of that's merchandising, and part of it's even just understanding and asking the right questions. How can we do better when you think about that? Are there other things that I think that I should be doing related to those types of experiences that come to mind?
No, it's a great question. I wish there was somebody here from our merchandising
Sorry,
team.
sorry.
No, I just talked about I will say this though. I love what you're doing, because if you think about from a patient experience, especially someone maybe that it's the first time they've ever had to wear glasses, they're coming, especially if you were an emmetrope and now you're a presbyope, and I've got to wear glasses for the first time after, I've been on this earth 48 years, right? If if a new wearer has to wear glasses, to your point, at least make them look cool, like give them the best vision you can with something like Verilux XR Track, but then have fun with it. These can be part of the visual identity of the wearer. And to your point, you can mix and match and have some great options with frames and lenses. I know a few frame brands as well that I'd recommend, but so for me, I think that's a great opportunity, because it's the full care of the patient, because you're caring about their vision and caring about how they see themselves as now a glasses wearer, which I truly believe glasses are cool. It'll be fun. I should have, if you're talking about how many glasses you have at your house, I should have counted to see how many I have, guys. I have things on the wall. I have cases in the closet. I have other displays. I've got quite a few. So we'll have to compare collections someday. But no, I think it's great. And I think, Verilux XR Track is going to provide the great vision. You've got all these other great brands and tools at your disposal to make them feel great about their choice and the eyewear that you recommended to them. First and foremost, it's about correcting the vision, because that's why they're there. They can't see and they need your help to do so. And then you make them feel great about how they look in that solution, right?
Yeah, I think, Jeff, I don't know if there's a better way for us to wrap that up. I think that's, providing them with a personalized experience in a way that not only makes them see great, but helps them differentiate their vision 25% better at near than the XR design, which is already significantly better than our previous designs and other designs they may get elsewhere. And then I think customizing their whole entire experience based on even what they select is probably the best way that we can wrap this up. I appreciate you coming on. Any parting thoughts?
I would say if you're recommending Verilux XR design today and you're thinking about Verilux XR Track, please talk to your brand specialist and make sure you talk to them. And you can go to esslerinstrumentsusa.com to order an iRuler 2. We have 2 different versions with special pricing right now, so I encourage you to do so. If you've got an iRuler 2 already and you're not using it as much as you could, again, talk to your lab, talk to your brand specialist, figure out some of the tricks that you talked about, Chris. How do I leverage that in my practice so I can put that in front of more and more patients and really get the true benefit of the device? And then really to your, think about the full needs of the patient, whether it's Verilux XR Track, Resolve Sapphire HR, the new transitions Gen S, and provide that complete solution to your patient, and they'll keep coming back.
Awesome. Jeff Harrell, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Great.